भाई का मैच ख़त्म हो गया है। फिर चलाते हैं हिकारू भाई का मैच चलाते हैं। निहाल भाई जीत गए हैं। तो हिकारू ना कम हुआ। किसका किसका मैच है अभी? ओके, लेट मी चेक किस किसका मैच बाकी है। त्रिवेणी का है आधे घंटे बाद।
be decisive. We have Wei Yi versus Prague. It's going to be decisive. It's just, I mean, they both are very strong players. Wei Yi's very aggressive. Prague fights. I mean, Olympic gold medalist. He's going to fight for the team as well. That's going to be a decisive board for sure.
Well, the first thing that's going to be decisive is the toss. Which team gets what color? And
right.
You win the toss. What are you picking?
What do you think, Tanya? What you think I'm picking?
You're picking black every single time because you love the 4
Tanya,
points and you want to just get all the points.
And I'm going to flag you king, rook, king, rook.
You're going to flag me king.
100%.
King versus king as well, because
exactly.
that's not allowed. Let's see what the coaches picked in the toss. And it was the Alpine SG Pipers. They win the toss and they decide to start with the white pieces. And there we saw the win of the toss. They didn't go with James' suggestion. David, what do you make of the choice to start with white?
Well, I wonder, Magnus Carlsen, maybe he just wanted the white pieces. Maybe he demanded the white pieces against Alireza Firouzja.
Right.
He wants to get his first win of this season.
Well, let's find out what was the coach's strategy. Jovanka with the coaches.
You won the toss, Praveen, and you chose the white pieces. Can I ask you why?
Well, white has a slight advantage, the first move, and it's natural to try to play a press for a win more easily with white, and that's why I thought it was a good choice to take white.
And yesterday you won, but it was quite the battle. How is the team feeling?
Well, I think team was very happy because we had lost the toss and we got black pieces, and it was there was a lot of ups and downs in all the games, and it was a very tense match, and till the last moment we couldn't really know what was happening, but Richard and Yifan both played very well and we got the win.
Luke, the team is playing with the black pieces. If you'd won the toss, what color would you have chosen?
Well, I would have chosen white, to be honest. But yesterday, well, we won the toss. I chose white, well, and we got crushed badly. So let's hope today it will be a different scenario.
And yesterday was a tough loss. How important is today's game?
Yeah, well, yesterday it was a totally depressing match. You know, we had actually no chance to win the match at all. And actually, we have to get back on our feet, you know. So that's why probably it was better to have white again. But okay, you know, before yesterday we thought we were kind of invincible. Today we're probably a bit more humble, a bit more defensive. So yeah, we'd like to have a good match, but you know, Alpine is a strong team, so anything is still possible.
Alpine is a strong team. Well, they've got a certain world #1 as an icon. It's going to be a fantastic match. And there we had Grandmaster Praveen Tipse perhaps taking a leaf out of Alaskan Knight's notebook. Win the toss. Start with white, David.
That's right. It's the classical approach. You know, white, you get an advantage. You get to choose the pace, the direction of the game. And we'll wait to see if that pays off. We've seen a real mix so far today. But yeah, Magnus with white, Hu Yifan with white. It's a scary prospect.
A big match coming up, and for Triveni Continental Kings, not yet on the leaderboard. They're looking for a match victory on this one. How much does this mean to them? The players have to come out all guns blazing on this one. And now we're all set. The live audience ready. We've got the boards ready. We're all hyped up, and the players will be coming in on the other side of the break, and we'll have the first moves. Triveni Continental Kings and the Alpine SG Pipers are ready to enter the playing arena. We head over to Yavanka to welcome the teams.
Thank you, Tanya. And we are ready in the auditorium for the game. And the players are ready in the tunnels. So can everyone just give our players and our teams a big round of applause as we welcome SG Alpine Pipers and the Triveni Continental Kings. SG Pipers are they going to be led by Magnus Carlsen, and then we have Alireza leading the Triveni Continental Kings.
The players getting ready to take their place. Different emotions there, David. Some smiling, some not as much. What's going on in their minds right now?
Well, inevitable nerves, some jitters. That always is the case pre-match, but maybe just running through their opening choices as well. We've seen some great pre-match footage in the past, behind the scenes of the players preparing with laptops up until the last second. So, yeah, just trying to get their game faces on now.
Triveni Continental Kings headlined by Alireza, and there we see Valentina Gunina taking her place across Katrina Lahano. Handshakes games will be beginning in just a few moments, which means we head over to our commentary team. James Canty has made his way to join Sagar Shah.
Thank you, Tanya, for that. And what a game we have on the top board. Alireza Firuza from the Triveni Continental Kings takes on Magnus Carlsen. Joining me is the CEO of COE, James Canty. Hello, James.
We are here, Sagar. How are you, buddy? Man, listen, I'm hype and happy to be here. Of course, for the commentary today. Look at him locked in there. I mean, so much great chess today. You always learn something, and it's very fun to watch. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And these two have been having this rivalry between themselves in online chess, where Magnus has beaten Alireza several times recently.
Yes.
And Alireza has said, I'm glad that Magnus actually exists in the chess world. Otherwise, I would lose my motivation.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's actually kind of crazy. But it's nice because they motivate each other. I mean, Magnus is locked in. He's ready to go. And Firuza is always looking at it as a challenge, which it is. Of course, he's the world #1, 5-time world champion as well. So Firuza is like, yeah, it's a challenge to fight him, to try and beat him, especially with the black pieces here too as well. I'm really going to go all out. I get 4 points if I win. It's for my team. There's a lot of emotion, and he got a win here, Sagar, because TCK, Triveni Continental Kings, lost yesterday.
Yeah, they are at the bottom of the table right now. They need to win. We have the shake of hands. It's going to be an amazing encounter. Magnus opens with 1d4, and on board 2, we have Pragnananda taking on Wei. What a match that is going to be.
That's going to be decisive, 100%. I mean, board 1, it could be a draw. It could be decisive, obviously. But, yeah, board 2, that one's going to be decisive. That's just 100% that style matchup there. There's no way that one's going to be a draw.
Right, and we are beginning with the Queen's Gambit declined opening. James, this is a very solid way to play as black. You just try to equalize and then slowly try to take over if possible.
And you know what? I like this situation of the c6 pawn here, which is defending the d5 pawn. And what he's doing is just having a nice pawn structure here and going for sort of the semi-Slav setup here, where he is going to have a solid foundation, him meaning Firuza having a very nice solid foundation. And then he's going to play a little bit aggressively somewhere down the line, maybe a b5 and etc. He takes the pawn on c4 though, Sagar.
He's now a pawn up, and Magnus is essentially telling Firuza, I have no interest in recovering this pawn. I'm simply going to castle, I'm going to push my pawn forward, and I'm coming at you.
Wow, you know what? I can actually play b5 in some of these positions and try to actually keep my pawn that I won. But, of course, Magnus actually is transposing into something that he already kind of likes to play, which is sort of a Catalan-type position here, where he fin-kettles the bishop on g2, plays very positionally and says, I'm going to get this pawn back later, and actually have more of a quiet game is what he likes to play. These games where, you know, less tactics, still tactics involved, but not giving a lot of sharp positional things or sharp games that Firouzja would definitely thrive in. You don't want to give him anything he likes to play.
Interesting take there. And we are soon going to have the next set of games beginning. James, a very interesting innovation at the Global Chess League is the fact that 2 boards start and then there's a staggered start for the next 2 boards taking place after 2 minutes.
I actually like that. I like that there's a stagger there. I mean, of course, well, we can all kind of just focus and everyone gets their mind right, especially on the other boards when you know that it's coming up for you in the next 2 minutes. Just kind of be ready, be poised, take a few deep breaths, and get ready to play your game.
And we have Richard Rapport taking on the white pieces for the SG Alpine Pipers against Temur Rajabov from the Triveni Continental Kings. We see this position, very interesting decision by Rapport to give up the bishop for the knight and then slowly just try to create some kind of a barrier with his pawns.
In fact, what they say here in all chess literature, of course, is when you trade a bishop, you want to put the pawns on the same color of the bishop you've traded. And that is because you do want to actually make sure that your other bishop, if you have one, is actually still very strong. So as we see, he plays, you know, a4, pawns are on d3 and e4 and c2, the light square pawns there. So it creates a very nice kind of not outpost, but squares on the dark squares for my dark square bishop that is currently on c1. So very nice from Richard Rapport here. A very creative player, but playing more of just a positional style here. Maybe this was part of the plan here, Sagar. What do you think? Is that part of the match strategy, is to just play super solid? Because, you know, this is a Rossalimo, where it's a more positional type of play. We see on board 1, Magnus is just positional, period, you know. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I feel like definitely Richard Rapport wants to play a long game here against Rajabov. And meanwhile, we have games 5 and 6 beginning there. And there you see the second female board that's there between Koschenyuk and Gunina. And we have the prodigy board between Daniel Darda and Javokir Sindarov. So first, as Sindarov points out, first the ladies will begin, and then now the arbiter comes in. They have a shake of hands and d4 here.
Yeah, it's actually Lagno here. Lagno versus Gunina, and Gunina's extremely strong. She wins a lot of women's events, actually. I was doing some commentary and seeing her win a women's FIDE event literally almost every Wednesday. Not winning, but maybe placing and winning money every Wednesday for the women's event that they have online for FIDE. So Gunina, very strong, very underrated. And of course, Lagno, I think she's how many times?
She's actually won World Blitz titles several times.
Yeah, a few times.
And
yeah.
also World Rapid titles. So
wow.
she's a multiple-time world champion.
Wow, absolute beast here, of course, on the board, right? And we have ourselves a... What is this Sicilian? Which one is this one? A Sveshnikov? Something like that. Maybe yeah, Kalashnikov, something.
Kind of Kalashnikov here. Pawn pushes forward, the knight comes here, and then white tries to grab the central space. Gunina is well prepared there. She's blitzing out her moves. So is Lagno.
You know, it's funny. I think every board so far has been the most positional chess you can do in every opening. So, of course, here just locking down the center of the board with the pawns on e4 and c4. So having a sort of, they call this a Maroczy bind setup, where you actually bind the d5 square, which is what's going on right now. The 2 pawns on e4 and c4 actually do a great job of not allowing anything for black to put a piece there. You can if you like, but we'll just take it and get some material there. All boards, it seems like so far, very positional chess.
Right, and as for our viewers who are new to chess, we want to tell you that whenever we call out a move, let's say, for example, d5, you should look at the squares below, and there are letters there. So d5 is here, and there's also, if you go, the numbers on the left of your screen. So there you can understand which square we are pointing towards.
Absolutely.
James, I want to go back to our icon board. Magnus Carlsen versus Alireza Firouzja. It's the big clash there. And as you said, you mentioned that this is going to be a positional struggle. And it's actually taking that direction, it seems.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Magnus just being Mr. Positional himself. Well, we say this because, I mean, him being the greatest in-game player we've ever seen, is he's very comfortable. In fact, I remember actually seeing a quote that said, Magnus, he doesn't care much about the openings. He doesn't even care what kind of opening he's playing, just as long as he can get out of the opening into a playable middle game. He's fine with that because he says, I'm going to beat you usually somewhere in the end game. Now, of course, you can actually still make mistakes up until the end game, but he's very comfortable going into positions that may be dry or boring or very quiet, just to give himself that strength of understanding his strengths and weaknesses there, being really in the end game. And look at him looking around already, just kind of, not bored, but like, hey, what's going on the other boards here, Sakar?
Well, but you know what, James, there is a possibility for Firouzja to take another pawn. He moves his knight, but he could have also pushed his pawn. But that did not happen. He's brought his knight here. It seems like the opening strategy has worked well for Magnus, because he can now actually try and round up this pawn here, maybe moving the knight in, maybe pushing this pawn forward.
Yes, 95 would be very nice. Putting it into the center of the board, putting a knight or even any piece, of course, is very good to put in the center of the board. The 4 squares in the center of the board is generally where you want to aim. Put pieces and pawns and have pieces generally aiming there, because you get space, you get better attacks, you get better positions, and just better piece plate and space as well. So a move like 95, which would be very nice, because knights from the center of the board can actually control 8 squares. So having that type of power is actually very good and recommended. So you also can play pawn e4 as well at some point, due to the pin on the knight that sits on f6 from our bishop on g5. That bishop pins down the knight, so you can't move it or we'll take your queen. So that allows us to make moves like pawn e4 in the center of the board to try to put some pressure on that knight that sits on f6.
Right, so as of now, these are a few moves that are possible, but Firouzja has pressure on the knight here, so Magnus has to first do something about it. Maybe a queen moving in here, or a queen going to c1. This is actually quite a stressful game, you can say. It's going to be a positional struggle. Both players are going to take their time for each move.
And we have queen c2. Right there it is, Sagar. Queen c2.
He played it.
He played it. He played it with the intention of, we don't really know yet. He has a lot of moves. In fact,
maybe just pushing the pawn in the center and then pushing it forward. This is looking quite good for Magnus, actually.
It defends the knight on c3 because, I mean, okay, yeah, the knight was, not that it was hanging, but, chess is simple math, and I always like to teach students, of course, is the knight and the bishop are 2 pieces attacking the knight that was on c3. You only have 1 piece or pawn defending that piece, so queen c2 not only helps defend the knight on c3, but also connects the rooks, which makes our position just a little bit better, because we're getting more pieces into the game and being active. The more pieces, usually, the better.
Right, and so Magnus looking good here. We should head over to board number 2 now. We have Pragnananda there taking on Wei Yi.
Man, let's see that game. That's going to be decisive. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, these two are amazing players. You know that Wei Yi is currently one of the best Chinese players. In fact, he's also overtaken Ding Liren on the rating list.
Wow.
So he's current China #1. But the opening seems to have gone in Pragnananda's favor, because he has a slightly better position.
Yeah, it's actually Prag is very well prepared, I would say. One of the he doesn't get as much credit for it, but he's just a very well prepared player, very strong. In fact, working with many coaches, and also just a part of the Indian dynasty as we know it today. Right now, Rook D1, very good move here with an X-ray on that knight on D5. So there's going to be some problems with White threatening actually the move knight to B3, attacking the queen.
That would be huge, and that's the reason why he defends it, James. James, overall in this match, we have Magnus versus Firouzja, we have Prag versus Wei Yi, Richard versus Rajabo, Yifan versus Koschenyuk, Lagno versus Kunina, and Daniel Darda versus Javoki Sindar. What's your take in this match? We haven't yet discussed.
The takes, huh? Woof, man. You know, it's a great one. I think Darda, I was actually playing games with him in Nihal a few nights ago. So, of course, I know Darda's very warmed up. He also had a match, obviously, too, as well. So I think there, maybe Darda has a slight edge just because of him being warmed up.
Really?
And actually
because
being ready
he played
to play.
against you, yeah?
Yeah, well, of course, me and Nihal. He actually took some L's to Nihal. Nihal was just actually just going crazy that day. But also, it was good to get the games in. And also, yes, of course, playing me, too, as well. No, it was lots of fun. Sindarov having lots of experience, too, as well. I think he's going to have his word cut out there. It's going to be tough. But at the same time there, he has the white pieces, him meaning Darda. So I know Darda definitely played very well with the white pieces before. So going to see what happens there. Ho Yifan and Kostinya, that's a great one there. They are both very aggressive players. I think that's going to be a decisive board as well.
Right. Okay. So there we have some exciting clashes. And James not really telling us who's his favorite here, but I think it's a well-balanced match.
I think it's actually very well-balanced, in fact. Yeah, very well-balanced. This is kind of hard to pick a team there, but it's very, that's the word, well-balanced. If I had to pick one, though, let me think. I'm going to have to go with Magnus's team. I'm going to have to go with Magnus's team there. What do you think?
Yeah, I also think like Magnus is going to lead from the front here. Look at what has happened, by the way.
Magnus is locked in.
Alireza actually snatched a pawn. So he was one pawn up. He went in and grabbed another pawn. And then Magnus said, well, what about this? I'm coming in. I'm attacking your knight. And he took here. And now Magnus is thinking, because he can take this, he can take this. Later on, he's threatening a pawn push. James, this is getting very, very exciting.
It's getting spicy. What happens if I take the bishop, though, Sagar, and then my knight is hanging on d5? Yeah. I'm going to have to move it away, right?
You will have to move it away. Let's say I take here. You need to break the pin this way, and maybe you just about survive. But this is so risky.
Very risky. It definitely gives White some initiative. And here we go. And it's happening right now. It gives White some initiative. Initiative equals time and activity is what that means. So White has the time and he has the activity. Time meaning the pieces are very active. If you notice Black's pieces, Black has not completed development. What does that mean? The rooks on the back rank are not connected. They are brothers and they are very far away from each other. On the back rank, they're on the 8th rank. So for White, White's rooks look very good compared to Black's. So in this case, White definitely has an initiative and a slight advantage, especially practically from a human standpoint, having more active pieces, more pleasant to play as White.
But Firouzja is just saying like, look, I have 2 pawns up and I'm going to stick with it. I think he'll also protect his remaining pawn there and then he will hope for the storm to pass by.
I'm going to play that. I'm going to play. You know what? Hey,
and
it's a pawn.
Push this. James,
it's a pawn.
Just
push them, baby. Push the pawns. Push all of them. B5, A5, everything 5, and just push those pawns down the board and hope for the best.
Right, and by the way, on our screen, we have the points table. We see PBG Alaskan Knights at 29 game points.
That's ridiculous. How many knights is that? How many knights is that one? 29 points? That's a lot of knights there, I think.
Yeah, that's almost 10 knights you can get for it.
10 knights, right. Just under 10 knights there. Well, hey, it's going to be a long 10 knights here if the knights keep swinging and playing at the pace they are.
Right, so this one looking very good. And there you see Firouzja about to make that pawn move to B5. We are talking about it because with that, he keeps his extra pawns wanting and hoping that Magnus does not checkmate him in some way or the other. And then he can make his queenside pawns count.
The question is and there it is. He plays it. Now, I wonder, because we have to do something as White here. We can't just make a move like, move the rook to one of the files, E, D, C, or B. I mean, it doesn't really do much. But, of course, if we want to justify being down a pawn here, we can play the move maybe F4, moving the pawn in front of our rook here. And as you mentioned, going for an attack, yeah. It's quite annoying just to try to do something, obviously, to push on that side of the board. Exactly. And maybe even a potential G4 after that. And then you'll have 5 pawns on the 4th rank. That is crazy. It looks like they made that type of position up.
James, you are going all out there, and I would be very interested to see if Magnus goes for this. But there's also another tactic tactical possibility here that white has, James. Look at this. If the knight jumps in,
boom,
snatches this pawn,
whoa,
the knight goes back and takes it.
We take it.
Then we push it forward, opening up here and here and here. Oh my God.
There is a lot going on. We might have to give something back at that point, which looks kind of risky. It's tough. He doesn't go for it, but that was a very nice sequence there, I think. Knight takes c6, followed by e5 is quite annoying. But he goes with queen to c1.
What is he
Sagar.
Oh my God. Is he planning for some kind of an attack? Take this, and then just jump in with your queen in.
He's actually, maybe that's very nice, but he might actually take and go knight to g4
yes,
first.
Let's just point this out. If you move your bishop here,
okay,
I just chop,
take.
then jump with the knight with the queen coming in.
Wow, this could be diabolical. And if a knight to g6 happens, we do have that h pawn that's going to kick away that knight, bring the queen in, and you can resign as it's going to be mate in 4.
Right,
probably.
But let's have a look at what happened there. He went king to the side, and that's a big mistake. As Magnus brings his queen in, this is getting very tough for Firouzja.
Yeah, he makes it look so easy here too, as well as he gave up the pawn. This was very Catalan-esque, as it started as something else, but from the Catalan being a chess opening, Magnus is a favorite of it. He loves playing the Catalan opening, and somehow, by transposition, we got something similar to what he's very comfortable playing with as well. Even winning his 5th World Championship against Jan Nepomniachtchi, he was able to play the Catalan with success. I think it was game 6 where he ended up sacrificing his queen and having a great game. That was a Catalan as well. So he's very comfortable here, Magnus.
He's very comfortable, and I think Firouzja might have to grovel here. He might have to put his knight back like this in order to defend.
That's gross. Come on. We got to get that off the screen there, Sagar. No one else to do this. These knights here are called superfluous knights. In fact, Dvoretsky came up with this term. The knights are fighting over squares, and they look cool. They defend each other, but they don't want to be doing this.
Yeah, I think this one is definitely not looking pretty for Firouzja, but we know what a fighter he is. Our win probability bar at the top of our screen shows 66% for Magnus Carlsen, 34% for Firouzja.
Yeah, of course, the win probability is always, okay, it's not always. Most times it can be correct, but then again, hey, we are humans here. This can switch at any given moment. Now, I think when Magnus gets these type of positions, he doesn't really just let it go. Right, black has no real counterplay right now, and this is what you want to lean on. Counterplay meaning, good plans of attacks. We don't really have that from the black standpoint. We also have not completed development. Again, get all your pieces out. Magnus a favorite.
Absolutely. And talking about favorites, another game that is looking pretty good for white here is the battle between Richard Rapport and Temur Rajabo on board number 3. Also looking very good for the Alpine SG Pipers.
Yeah, you can even see in Richard Rapport's his face there. He's just looking very calm. He's calculating a lot of lines here. As you can see his eyes, if you just take a look at his eyes, he's calculating. It looks like Timur has a little bit of stress there. Shoulders are kind of high. He's sitting up here, and it seems like he's a little bit more tense. And look at these pawns in the center of the border, Sagar. Those pawns are monstrous.
Yeah, they are just simply amazing. And the last move that Rapport has played is moved his bishop. It's given as a question mark. I don't think it's bad at all. He's looking at the pawn here to attack, and actually the white pawn can move in further in. I think this is looking really dangerous. Also, the other pawn can move in.
Yeah, I actually do like this move for white. Engine does not agree. Maybe there's some type of pawn to f6.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of
maybe
annoying.
that's the idea
That's
here.
the idea.
But still, James, this is looking really good for Rapport. As you can see, the win probability meter saying 71% to Richard.
That's a lot. That's almost all of it. In fact, 71% is a lot there. But of course, you are playing a human. Time is the factor too, as well. As time gets lower, mistakes will happen. But white is for favorite here, as we have the nice structure. In fact, pawn structure that is better than black's. And we have the 2 pawns in the center. We're threatening moves like d6 or e6 as well. And we have another board.
We are going to the game between 2 amazing players. World number 1, Ho Yifan, playing there against the chess queen, Alexandra Koschenyuk. And this one, what's happening? It's complete chaos. But it feels like, again, the PBG... sorry. Over here, we have the Alpine SG Pipers on the offensive.
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's a very aggressive player. Very aggressive all the time. I mean, as you just watch her game, she just plays aggressive chess. Yeah. And you obviously do want to watch it and learn from it here. And this is, this position is nothing short but an aggressive type position here. The king on E8 is a little airy there. Needs some moves there. But also, it seems like this might have been a French defense too as well. I'm curious to see.
It was a Karo Khan.
Ah, close. The cousin. Makes sense.
The Karo Khan, and she brings back her queen. She says, I'm not going to trade, but that changes the assessment of the position completely. Wow.
Like they like black now after that. I mean, I think it's a practical decision, though. I don't want to trade queens because it gives me less of an aggressive position. Less, when you trade queens here, it's harder. Not that you can't checkmate without the queen, but it makes it just harder and makes it more liquidation type savvy. You also will help your opponent when you take on d7. A king takes d7 would have been the move there to actually activate the king there, as it's okay not to castle because queens are off the board, being closer to an endgame.
Right, you are absolutely right. That wouldn't have been the right move, but maybe something like a check here would have been pretty good, or pushing the pawn. This one that has been played in the game is slightly passive, and we now see Alexandra Koschenyuk thinking about her move. If she gets castling in, then puts her rook here, the other rook moves into b8. This is going to be some pressure. She plays directly rook b7.
Rook b7 first. Got to move that queen again. The question is where. She chooses queen a3 with an option to take on a5.
Yeah, this one I think is good news now for the Triveni Continental Kings, as Koschenyuk starts to get a slightly better position. It's maybe time to look at the next board. We have the juniors here fighting, and Daniel Darda with the white pieces seems to be in a very good position against Javokir Sindarov. You said that Darda is someone who's warmed up, is looking good. Look at the black king here on the side of the board. I think it's under pressure.
Yeah, Darda was very sharp here when we played a few nights ago with Nihal as well, and a few others. It was very fun. And Darda was very, very accurate and good with the white pieces. Now, obviously, you do have the first move there, but at the same time, he was just locked in. He played very, very well here. And as you see in this position, too, I think white is the favorite. We have the G file, which our rook is on. I mean, we have the bishops that look good as well. Only piece that we don't like is the knight on d1, and that is something to pay attention to. Where are we going with that knight?
It'll come in somehow or the other, James. Also, notice this pawn moving forward, opening up the bishop. He does improve his knight. He listens to you.
Ah, yes. In fact, no, there's what is that book? It's Positional Play, the Grandmaster Preparation book, actually, which we actually talked about this with Darda as well. He was like, yeah, my favorite one is Calculation out of that one, so we got to get him some COE gear, definitely. But he did say he read the series, and one of the series was Positional Play by Grandmaster Preparation, or by Jacob Igart and Grandmaster Preparation. One of those is First Place Piece, and he definitely moved it.
Right, and now moving on to Katerina Lagno here against Valentina Gunina. The last move that was played here was absolutely stunning.
Gotta see it.
The move that was played here. Ooh, look at this, James. If we can get the board, it'll just show you this amazing move that was played by Gunina. We were here. We were here.
Okay.
And think about what did black play in this position.
Let me see. Queen h3. Put in a queen on the h3 square.
That's a bit too much
there,
James.
That's pretty bad. Okay.
You just need to sacrifice the rook.
Whoa, the rook c1 and be done. That was a nice move, in fact, with the idea of if queen takes c1, what happens, Sagar?
Check, and you lose the queen.
Wow.
It's a big fork there, a royal fork coming in on e2. So she moved the queen, but now after takes with the queen, the position is roundabout even.
Quite level there. Quite level, where it feels like black may have some type of slight advantage due to the very strong knight on d4 and some tactical possibilities available.
Right, again the threat is to bring your rook in. If the queen takes, there's a fork once again looming large.
Does not want that, but the question is, do we capture something? Can we take on d6? It is possible. Rook takes d6 is possible, but probably not the greatest because of queen takes a4. Maybe we take that pawn over there on the a file, attack the bishop, and renew the threat of rook to c1.
Very likely this is actually a move that could very well happen. Rook taking the pawn. We are right now here. We have Lagno who's thinking for her move, but look at the time situation. She has 5 minutes on the clock. Gunina has 12 minutes 38 seconds. Time is going to play a massive factor here.
Remember, there's no increment here. So if you're playing a 5-minute game, no increment, while Gunina is playing more of a rapid game without increment here. So that time edge is very important.
Right, and now going to the board number 2 here between Pragnananda and Wei Yi. Well, Prag is actually a queen up.
Whoa!
Can you believe it?
I knew something crazy was going to happen on this board, but it looks like a material imbalance with 2 rooks and a bishop versus a queen and a rook there.
So Wei Yi, even though he doesn't have the queen, his position is still okay because the white king is under fire. The bishop is looking at the queen, the rook is in between. It can move away somewhere and unleash a discovered attack.
Wow, that would be nice. In fact, we would have to figure out where to go. Believe it or not, there's no good places to put the rook. We can pick up the rook, and, this is over the board chest, so you can actually pick up the rook and put it somewhere, but you will be counted as an illegal move. But, of course, we would like to move the rook somewhere nice.
Move there by Prag. Prag is like, yes, I heard you, James. Nothing much is happening. Let me just move my rook inside the position. And now, going to the next board here, there we have Temur Rajabo versus Richard Rapport, and guess what has happened? An unbelievable move has taken place. Richard Rapport has unleashed hell on the position. Let's have here, an amazing move that happened. James, I want you to take a look. What should white do here?
Okay, let's think about it. You can probably go with, let's go tactics senses are tingling here. Maybe it could be rook takes h5.
Wow.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, we do tactics at home.
And what's happening after I take your rook?
I think after gf, you take the pawn on f6 next.
Wow. And if knight takes here,
we go queen to g5 check.
Queen enters in.
And then king
after
f7.
King goes here.
Knight e5 check.
Knight jumps. Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening right now. And king to e7. And then we move the queen over to g7 with check.
Mate, this is happening. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a mate.
Oh, it's a checkmate. That's disgusting. He might just hit the button right now, aka resign. So my goodness.
This has happened. He comes in and maybe he doesn't go here like we discussed because that's a checkmate. He might go to the other side. But once you go here, James, I take your knight. My other knight is coming in. My knight is very active. You are in big trouble.
Wow, what was this opening choice here? What was the beginning? Are we able to check to see how did this happen so the viewers at home can figure out
Don't you remember
what to do?
We saw this? It was the Rosalimo.
The Rosalimo? What? This was a Rosalimo?
From a very solid opening.
That is crazy.
Richard Rapport, who's known as one of the most creative grandmasters in the world of chess, has managed to completely demolish his opponent.
With a opening that is not considered the most aggressive.
Yeah, and look at the win probability meter, 93% for Richard. This is great news for the Alpine SG Pipers.
Probably should be 99% after this sequence here. Queen g5. Only move looks like to be king to h7. Just going over one to the right here, but that's not going to help too much. And here it's happening in real time.
It's happening. Rook comes over, and now let's see what he does. He brings the other knight in.
Yep. Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
This will be I'm very tempted to knock over all the pieces on the board right now, Sagar, as this is not happy. I am not happy with the black pieces here.
Looking in, this king all lonely. Well, it's completely destroyed.
Jeez, man. Bringing that other knight. I wonder how far he calculated this here. This one is GG, meaning game over. Good game already.
So you know what's happening now in this match? If I have to tell you, if we can have a look at our icon board, Magnus Carlsen is winning his game against Alireza Firouzja. Again, a great result for the Alpine SG Pipers. We see Richard Rapport winning here on board 3. Magnus is winning on board 1. Board 2 might be equal, but on board number 4 and 5, the women's board, is where the big battle is taking place. But can we go to the top board clash and see how Magnus is converting this?
And Magnus looks very confident. Very, very confident here. I see 3 minutes there on Firouza's clock. But the question is, how much time does Magnus
Good result there for Magnus. Has 5 with the black 30 seconds here. He has 2 extra minutes. He's just working it out how to win here. He has a very, very active passed pawn here, which is just 2 steps away from queening. His bishop is well positioned. The other one can sit here. James, do you think there's anything left here?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you don't want to have 2 knights versus 2 bishops here. Generally, especially in open positions, meaning, you know, the bishops have a lot of room to move around. As you see, he backs that bishop all the way up to f1, as the bishops are much better in where they have a lot of room to work with, like in an open position is what they call this, where there's a lot of room for pieces to move. You have the bishops versus the knights. We're going to take the bishops most times.
Right, and the knight comes in trying to solidify the position, but I have a feeling that the bishop will jump in. It goes there. This pawn is weak. It's going Magnus's way here.
This is almost resignable. I mean, look, the knights don't work well together. They're superfluous. I mean, I take a pawn here. I mean, this is ugly. I'm kind of just shuffling here.
Yeah. So Magnus doing really well. Can we quickly check what's happening on board number 2 between Pragnananda and Wei there? That one is... Oh my god, this is intense. And meanwhile, we do have a result. We saw Temur Rajabo moving out. Richard Rapport has scored a win there.
Very big win.
And look at that final moment.
Wow.
Richard Rapport actually just said, you know, I know you didn't play. It was not a good day for you. He's such a gentleman there.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I mean, all of them here are just very gentle players here. And great sportsmanship all across the board, no matter what, win, lose, or draw. And if they stop to talk about the game a little bit, just says a lot about the players and the character.
Right, and here we see Pragnananda having a great position. He's up a queen, but somehow Wei's bishop and rook are not going to give it away easily.
He's trying to set up what they call a fortress here, where, of course, it's going to be hard for white to break through if we give up the B pawn. But we have to do it at the right moment, where maybe we can win some material and maybe try to hold anyway with the black pieces by holding the rook on the 6th rank. Now, there could be this thing called Zugzwang eventually, which means, of course, black is going to have to step off in an unfavorable position by bringing the king and the queen very close to black's camp here. But that is a long way from home. And how much time do they have? They may not have enough time to do all of that.
Only 2 minutes left. That is one of the things that he always experiences. He comes under time pressure, but he's so accurate. He moves his queen to the side, and this one can be a very critical game. We should quickly check the junior prodigy board, because we see a big movement happening there, James.
Whoa, we got to check out, see what is going on. Let's see if we can see from the board right here. I think Sindarov is actually, I don't know if that's the nervous or if I am very confident type of shake there while spinning.
He's just very happy, it seems.
Yeah, you see how fast he's spinning that pawn there? A lot of times they say that tells a lot about how strong you are, about how fast you can twirl the pawn. No. If you twirl that pawn very fast, very strong player.
True, and look at him there. Oh
look at
my
him,
god,
look
that's
him. Wow.
2800.
That's 2800, easy. That's that pawn twirling championships here.
Yeah, and right now you can see Daniel Darda's win probability just 12%. Sindarov taking here. So that means that Triveni Continental Kings will get the 4 points here on this board. But meanwhile, they are being pushed back at the top 3 boards. So the bottom 3 boards have to fire. And it's a draw that has occurred on board number 4 between Hoi Fan and Kostenyuk.
That's crazy. Well, you know what? I guess when aggressive meets aggressive, you know, you would think it would be more aggressive, but in fact, sometimes it's just a draw.
Right. So a draw that's happening here, that has happened, and then they have a shake of hands. A good result there for Kostenyuk with the black pieces holding the world number 1 to a draw. But that means that this match, oh, look at this. Look at this. Magnus Carlsen and Firouzja have 2 knights versus 2 bishops.
Oh, wow. 2 knights versus 2 bishops in an open position. Open meaning, of course, lots of room, lots of space. And generally, you prefer the bishops here. This is going to take a long time, but they don't have a lot of time either. So it is very easy for someone to go wrong. Even with the bishops, as Magnus has, there is a way that you can be wrong and cause an error, of course, and let Firouzja maybe back in the game to be able to draw this game.
Right. At this point, it feels like there are some hopes for Firouzja. The Triveni Continental Kings are not giving up easily. They are fighting, and if Magnus cannot convert this, this can be big trouble there for the Alpine SG Pipers. Absolutely. Because right now, this one, James, could be a big encounter.
Plays the F4 move. Pushing him back, I think, is his kind of clinical here. Clinical meaning, hey, very easy for Magnus, as he is going to bring all his pieces and pawns forward, let the knights run out of moves at some point here. But you do have to be careful of knight forks.
Right, but look at this. Over here, the Triveni Continental Kings on board number 5, Valentina Gunina, is putting immense pressure on Katrina Lagno.
Very quick glance at the clock there from Lagno. Of course, it is very good to glance at the clock. See, she's going under a minute. She's going under a minute here. And if you don't have that type of experience over the board playing bullet chess, that is, because there is no increment, you're going to have to start moving almost instantly.
Right, and right now, Gunina is an exchange up here. So she is definitely in the driver's seat, which means that board 5 and 6 are going in the Triveni Continental Kings' favor. Magnus Carlsen has to strike on board number 1. That is very important.
Queen takes e3 happens, of course, and yeah, white is just trying to create some type of problems here. We're back at the main board.
And look at Firouzja's time. He has only 40 seconds left. Magnus has 1 minute 23 seconds. James, what do you think here?
It is very possible for someone to flag or aka run out of time because of the time control that we have here. There is no increment. You get no extra time. So what you have on the clock is what you have on the clock. So 30 seconds here for Firouzja.
Yeah, he's just given up a pawn. Magnus moves his bishop in, and Firouzja defends the knight. Magnus wants to take that pawn, pauses, takes it.
Okay, takes. Maybe this king. Oh, he went knight h6. Okay.
Goes to the side.
Blocking the pawns temporarily.
Somehow, James, like the knights are now blocking the entire position.
Yes, this is sort of like Devareski page somewhere in the back of the book here, as it seems like with the knights and the pawn. There we go. Oh, there's a capture, and he captured it quite hard there. A little bit maybe of frustration, or also moving fast, or both.
Do you see, James, how Magnus is playing here? He's so careful for the knight forks.
All right, as we've seen already, the Alaskan Knights are so strong. Wait, is that a mate threat?
Oh, look at that. There's a knight hanging there in the corner of the board.
And
but
there's
if
a
he
mate
takes
threat.
It,
oh my goodness.
If he takes this knight, he wants to take here and then pick up the last pawn. It will be a knight versus 2 bishops.
That is an insane type of sequence here. He might be able to take it. He plays f5 though. There's a check he takes. He's calculated it out.
No, it's a draw now.
Wow.
Insane. Unbelievable defense here. Can Firouzja hold this for his team? 14 seconds for him. Magnus has 13 seconds.
Trying to flag.
Unbelievable action here.
Dirty flag's coming.
Who's going to win? 10 seconds for both.
Just don't let him take the pawn. He's saying don't let him take the pawn. Don't let him get close to the pawn.
No, Magnus might lose on time. He has 5. Alireza has 6. Oh, the pieces are falling. Oh my goodness, he has the queen now on the board. But
what happened?
Firouzja won on time.
He wins on time.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Wait, is that, there's a knight though. Wait.
Oh, but
there's this insufficient.
Magnus just saying that can his opponent checkmate him?
Right.
But the point is, because you have a knight, there are mating possibilities, and so Firouzja wins.
Oh my goodness, he wins because there's a way that the knight can checkmate. That is insane. You are kidding me. I'm flipping the table right now. I would knock over all the pieces, and I'm done.
Turnaround, James.
Oh my goodness. Magnus walks away. He storms away. I would too. That one is tough. But flagging is possible. It is part of the game, Sagar. It is part of the game.
And And we had another unbelievable turnaround on board number 2, where Wei managed to beat Pragnananda.
Wow, that's 2. Board 1 and 2.
Well, it seems like the Triveni Continental Kings are just going to completely win this match.
Oh my goodness, taking all of the pawns there. And that's
Sindaro
3
wins.
games with black.
Wow, Sindaro wins here. Unbelievable. And then now the only game that's going on, let's rush over to the board number 5. Katrina Lagno and Valentina Gunina. That's going on right now.
3 games with black there. That's always tough for a team when you lose 3 games with the black. When black wins, that is, 3 games. That's already 12 points.
Yeah, and right now we can see the match currently stands. I mean, Triveni Continental Kings have already won it because they have wins on 3 boards. Firuza winning, Wei winning, and Sindaro winning. Now Gunina trying to score another win here.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one there. Man, heartbreaker, especially on the board 1 there with Magnus.
Takes here.
This one is very, very strange. There is some possibility. This is a double-edged game. Any player can win this.
Yeah, I mean, the queen can just enter here, and that could be a mating attack.
Definitely with queen h6 and following with a knight takes on g6. Next, it seems very promising for white. So white has to stop, or black has to stop white from going into h6.
And look at Gunina. She's unsure about her move. Pawn pushes there. You know, Lagno has just 19 seconds. Gunina has 1 minute 15 seconds. But she's so stressed out. She's like, oh, I can't find a move here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially after what we just saw there with how fast everything was going. The time. Oh, here we go. Queen b1. It might be done. That's over there.
Because the queen jumps in. Another win for Triveni Continental Kings coming in.
My goodness.
The rook jumps in.
The Continental Kings are looking like knights. Jeez.
Oh my God, another win there.
Resignation.
Wow. We have 4 wins.
That's 16 points? What? The Knights did that yesterday. That is insane.
There's also one draw. 17 points.
That is the biggest we've seen so far.
17-4. Triveni Continental Kings striking back, and how?
Wow. That was some heat this entire round.
We never thought this would happen because the Alpine SG Pipers were looking so strong. Magnus was better. Pragnananda was better. They both lost their games. And then we also had Daniel Darda losing on the last board, and also Katrina Lagno.
And one thing to understand is that these type of things can and will happen, of course, especially having no increment there, especially on board 1. I mean, white was completely winning, and then flags, meaning you lose on time. It's part of the game.
Right, absolutely. And here we have the scorecard that is there. We see that Alireza Firuza scoring that big win on top board against Magnus Carlsen. Wei beating Pragnananda. Richard Rapport scored that first win for Alpine SG Pipers, but that was not enough in any way. 17-4 is the final score line in the favor of Triveni Continental Kings.
What a round here. And of course, there is still another match. I mean, what do you think that match will top this one? Who knows? This is crazy. 17 points, Sagar.
Right, and now going down to the venue with Tanya, who's waiting for us.
Wow.
Thanks, Sagar. James. Triveni Continental Kings absolutely destroying the Alpine SG Pipers. One of the wildest finishes I've seen in a chess match. David, Alireza versus Magnus. We've got to relive that. What happened there?
I mean, that was absolutely crazy. Magnus was winning most of the game. He was dominant. It was just about how he won that game. Ultimately, it became a bit scrappy. And at some point, Magnus had a winning position. He also had 20 extra seconds on the clock, but he spent too long trying to find the best moves that he just simply forgot about the clock.
Now we can see Magnus with those extra